don't close any doors until it's the right time. And I do observe a lot of people that close the NCAA door well before they should have, okay? Meaning they got drafted yesterday, they sign a contract today. Their motivation is because they want to be able to share on social media how proud they are to sign a contract with the Sudbury Wolves or whomever, and thank everybody that helped along the way and so on, and get that kind of that excitement of doing that. And meanwhile, they're 2 years away from being a impact player on that roster at least. You know what I mean? Okay. So they've just closed the door to an opportunity in NCAA hockey at a time when I will be bold enough to say when they shouldn't have. Okay. Even if ultimately that's what they're going to choose, they might have, they did that too early. So I will say that. Okay. But now back to saying, like, what is it about college hockey? One, from a hockey standpoint, and if you go to our website or you attend one of our events, you'll hear a lot more about hockey than you will about college. And that's by design. And we do get some, I guess, negative feedback or critiquing of our organization where they say, why don't you spend more time on college? Because you know that the vast majority of people that play college hockey are not going to make a living, or at least a living for a long time, at hockey. Okay. And you know that even those that do make a living at hockey, they'll almost all be done by 40. You know, they'll have more than half of their life left post hockey. Why do you focus so much on the hockey aspect? And it's because we know the college part, if you come to college hockey, is going to be pretty darn good. Both the academics, the social aspects, that allowing you to develop as a human being and become a better man, and the friends you make, the network you make, all those things. We know that's going to happen. But we also know through many of conversations that the people that might make really good hockey players, that might really have a good experience at it, where really coming and spending more time in the weight room and less time in games and those things, that would be better for them at that point. Where it feels like we lose them is that those people just feel like they're selling their hockey development a little short by playing college hockey. And that's what I mean when I say we want the perception of college hockey to equal the reality of college hockey. And there are still just some of those people that their perception of it is either 30 years old or they just don't know all aspects of it. So I say from a hockey development standpoint, you're given a unique, whether you do it for 1 year or 4 years, you're given a unique time in your life where you have so many opportunities to focus as developing as a hockey player and an athlete, with the resources made available to you and the timeline with the fewer games and the increased practices and the time, not just in the off season, but in season, to be in the weight room and getting bigger and stronger. Okay. That part of it. And then you wrap all of that in the other aspects of what any college student is going to have, or any student athlete's going to have. Of course, the academics, the social aspects, coming in as an 18-year-old boy and leaving as a 22 or 23 or 24-year-old man, and those moments that happen. And from the Canadian standpoint, and I've said a couple times, I've done this now for 7 years, and I've learned a lot doing this. I came into it, I didn't really think much of anything college hockey other than I really liked it when I started. And now I've had so many conversations with so many different people from throughout the hockey world, and certain things stick with me. And this one absolutely does, is I truly believe the person most passionate about college hockey is a Canadian that played it. Not an American that played it, but a Canadian that played it. And for a couple of reasons. The most obvious one is, I think that as I spend more time in Canada and getting to know Canadians, the idea of connecting school with sports is more foreign to a Canadian than it is to an American. So not even just college hockey, but high school football, high school basketball, high school hockey, whatever it might be. And then the idea of being forever attached to your university. You know, so there's a whole lot of people that went to the University of Alabama that never set foot in the football field, but my gosh, they're 60 years old now, and you'd think that they played every down when they were at that school. You know, it just becomes part of their self-identity for life. College athletics do. So I think when a Canadian comes down to play it, frequently it's their first experience with a school band. It's their first experience with a student section, because they didn't see that in high school. It's their first experience with alumni that are 50 years old that love the program and love the young men playing it. It's their first experience with playing in front of all of these classmates and then socializing with them and attending class with them and that environment that you get. Whereas for an American, they grow up in that environment, so they go and do it and they have a great time, but they don't feel this conviction that I've got to go out and be a spokesperson for it. Where I think when and I can just rattle off guys in my head right now as I'm telling you this, we've got people in Winnipeg, Toronto, all over Canada that what I call them is they're like street fighters. They won't stop talking to people in wherever they live now in Canada about, oh, you got to check this out. It's like you won't believe it how good it is. And then I also think that's wrapped a little bit in that they know that in certain areas of Canada, more so than others, there's still not the appreciation for the caliber of hockey. And since they played it, I think they feel a little bit like, oh, you'd be surprised how good that college hockey is. So you should look into it for that. But I think it's the other aspects of it. I think it's that connection to the school and to their teammates and to that period of their life that sticks with them and almost gets more important the older they get. So any Canadian that has questions for me, I always ask them to talk to a Canadian that played it, because they'll get a really sincere, authentic response that they can identify with.